Hello again everyone from Tokyo, Japan. Welcome back to Two Wheels in Tokyo. Today I'm just doing a rather short and easy ride around the central part of Tokyo, the Azabu, Ayama, Akasaka area, which is an area where I live. It's been a long time since my last video, and I apologize for the long delay, but I have a pretty good excuse. Back in the first week of September, I was riding my bike around Yoyogi Park, which is something I usually do about 3 times a week. And it was a beautiful day, and I was enjoying a nice, somewhat fast ride. And I was planning to ride between 70 and 80 kilometers that day. But didn't turn out that way. I was about 25 kilometers into the ride and getting a good workout, and the next thing I notice is I'm in a hospital emergency room, and a doctor and his assistant are putting staples in the right side of my head. And to top that off, I suffered some pretty nasty scrapes on my right shoulder, my right elbow, and my right knee. And if that wasn't bad enough, I also broke 2 ribs and my right clavicle. So I was stuck in the hospital for a week, 8 days. And they let me go home. I had to wear this clavicle brace around my shoulders, which is not very comfortable. It's not the first time I have worn one. I broke the same clavicle back in a long time ago when I was 12 years old, 13 years old. And at least that time I didn't have to spend a week in a hospital. But fortunately, I heal quickly. I had to stay in the hospital for a week to make sure that my head wasn't working any worse than it usually did. And thankfully, it was all right. I've done a few rides since then. I began riding early last week, just doing some short rides around the area, which is what I'm doing today. Right now I'm in the Azabu area, behind Roppongi hills, and hang around here in the Azabu area, maybe go down to Azabu Dai, and then see where we go from there. On the left is the Robot Park, very famous and popular with kids in the neighborhood. Yeah, my daughter loved to play there when she was littler, but she's a little bit too big nowadays for the Robot Park. The South African Embassy on the right side here. We were trick-or-treating in this neighborhood on Saturday night. It was a Friday night. Friday was Halloween. Maybe my head isn't working as well as I think. And it was really rainy that night, but there were a lot of people who were handing out sweets and stuff for Halloween. A lot of foreigners live in this area. Many are expats, and some are diplomats. It's a nice area. And for people like myself who speak English, it's good and bad. It's good because most people around here speak English fairly well. It's bad because, that being the case, I don't speak Japanese as often as I should. Yeah, nice homes around here. They're always building. This place is kind of constantly under construction. The police here who are kind of watching the way to the Chinese embassy, where there are sometimes protests. A steep hill here. I'll be out of breath pretty quickly. This house on the left with all the gray on it looks like my father-in-law's house. He doesn't live here. His house is in Kamakura. Same design. Maybe the same guy designed it. Interesting places here. There's no theme. Tanuki Zaka. Tanuki is a kind of odd little creature which is related to a raccoon. Very popular, or very, very common in Japan. I see them here sometimes in Tokyo. In the days long past, this area used to be where families from around Japan, the ruling families, the daimyo class, used to have their Tokyo residences or Edo residences, or where they kept the supplies for their households, the richer ones. And in those days, this was very rural, and it was famous for foxes. And foxes in Japan had kind of a negative reputation in those days. It was said that you could be possessed by a fox, and the fox would make you do things you wouldn't otherwise do. We're kind of developing this area a lot. Interesting places. There's a shrine on the left side here. They had the festival here not long ago. And this new apartment building on the left used to be a couple of old Western style houses here. Why have two houses when you can have a dozen apartment units? And these police here are the ones who are guarding the Korean embassy, which isn't far away. It's down the hill the other way behind me toward Azabu Juban. And ahead up here on the left is a sports field by Asagawa Park. I figure I should know that name. I've only been to that park 1,000 times. Maybe not 1,000 times, but I've been there a lot of times. Find my way to Azabu Dubai, but I don't want to climb any steep hills. I think I'm out of luck. I think I don't have a choice but to face the hills from here. All right, we'll give it a try. more embassies here, and then Jimbori. Okay. Just be careful how you ride a bicycle around here. These diplomatic police don't always give you a hard time, but sometimes they do. We'll head back to Azabu Juban and go to Azabu Dai that way. And we'll go by way of Kitsune Zaka, which is Fox Hill. That's the hill up ahead. Now the Halloween decorations out. My daughter got a pretty good haul for Halloween. She got a bag full of treats, despite the fact there weren't so many places out here. When I was a kid, Halloween was quite busy. I didn't have room to in my bag. Sometimes I have to stop at home and empty it, so I'd have room to put in more. Definitely a hill here, but I have good brakes. I'm riding my mountain bike because my body's still a little bit too sore to go on my Roppongi bike, my gravel bike, or my road bike. Let's go this way. I like this neighborhood here. No bicycle parking. I don't plan to park my bike here. The problem with living back here, if you have a car, is driving. Like some of these roads and streets are very difficult to get in and out of. You need a little car to do it. Go up this way by the antique Range Rover. At least where we live, there's easy access for the car to get in and out of. And even if you get out of here, it's not necessarily easy. You have to, like the street through Azabu Juban is very busy. It's one way going uphill. And the other street is also busy. I'm not going to go that way. Maybe I should. That's actually the way that I should go. See what happens. Around off the left is where Nishimachi is, the international school. Kurosaki. Okay. All right. So Arisugawa Park over on the right, so we're going the right way to Azabu Juban. This actually isn't the way I wanted to go, but going this way anyway. for sale. It's a nice place. Good neighborhood, but no views. Willowbrook International School. Alright, here's the park again. Okay. Alright, Azabu is straight ahead. A lot of interesting stuff has been going on in Japan recently. There's a new prime minister here who is supposedly going to make Japan great again. We'll see what happens. There have been some changes to the immigration situation. To be fair, these changes were largely started before she was selected to be the prime minister. But the biggest change is the one to the visa system. So there's long been a program here called business management or business investor visa, where people who have money can come here and get a visa which has relatively few strings attached to it, and buy property and just support themselves with their savings or by transferring money from overseas. And this program has been, Japan says, has been abused largely by Chinese nationals who aren't even pretending to manage businesses or stuff like that here. So they've ended this program. They haven't ended, they've changed it to make it actually a real one. And now to qualify for this visa, you have to have, I think the amount is, you need about 6 times as much capital as used to be required. You have to have a N2 level of Japanese, which means you have to be able to speak, read and write almost fluently. And then you have to employ at least one Japanese person. In the past, you can kind of get away with not employing anyone, or in a pinch you could employ yourself or a family member, but that won't fly anymore. And to make it all the worse, they made this law retroactive 3 years. So people who arrived in the last 3 years to take advantage of this visa and to use it to obtain permanent residency or such, that's all been revoked. For myself, luckily, I don't have to worry about that. It was something that I did years back in order to sponsor myself for a visa. I incorporated a business here in Japan, and I didn't require any large capital. They needed a minimum of 1 yen. That's what's legally required here in Japan, but if you want to run a business here in Japan, you actually want to do it in a way which seems sensible to banks and other institutions. So they recommend at least a million yen, which was at the time about $10,000. But it used to be quite easy. You could go to a lot of services. They would loan you the money you need for a week or so. You put it inside your bank account, and then you print out a bank statement showing that balance on it, and then you could use that bank statement to prove the funds you had to qualify for the incorporation. And they also had that system available for the business visa. The minimum capital in was 5 million yen, but for just a few percent you could borrow 5 million yen for a week or so. That's all you need to get the visa. You see that the system was being abused. Azabu Juban is over to the left. We'll go up to Azabu Dai. That's where the tall buildings are up ahead. All that area is brand new. It was just built recently. And part of it hasn't been finished yet. The newer residential towers still being finished up. But it means going up a steep hill. Yeah, why not? I need the exercise. I'll appreciate the hills. This one isn't that bad. Not as bad as the ones I was climbing up earlier. Elevated highways are a kind of a wonder in Tokyo and in Japan. They are very, very strong. When they had the big earthquake in 2011, the ones here were shaking so much that even cars that had stopped were being bounced all over the road. And in places closer to the epicenter of the earthquake, it was enough where people who weren't wearing their seatbelts got rattled around in their cars pretty badly. But the bridges and highways didn't fall down. They had that one fall down in Kobe back in that earthquake. But after that incident, they reinforced all of the bridges in Japan. What they did is, these were generally built of steel reinforced concrete, which is strong but not earthquake proof. To make them earthquake proof, they clamped steel on the outside of the concrete all the way around, and that seems to work pretty well. All right, that's the new residence building up ahead. More police because the Russian embassy is close by. We'll probably see it. Definitely out of breath. On the bridge to the right, you can see the lower 2/3 is covered with steel shell. On a bicycle in Japan, you're kind of a dual citizen. You're a vehicle when you need to be a vehicle. You can be a pedestrian when you need to be a pedestrian. All right. So, little Italian restaurant on the right. It's pretty good. My father-in-law used to take my wife there when she was a kid. All right, and there it is, JP Tower. No one calls it JP Tower. That's its official name. Everyone calls it the Azabu Dai Tower because this place is called Azabu Dai Hills. Japan is weird. they have a kind of a attraction to the name Beverly Hills as kind of an upscale luxury place, and so they built a few hills places here in Tokyo. The first one was Roppongi Hills, which is by where I live. And they have Azabu Hills here. There's Toranomon Hills, and a few other hills around in Tokyo. And not to leave New York out of the picture, they have a lot of midtowns. So I live between Tokyo Midtown and Roppongi Hills, and there's a midtown in the Aisu side of Tokyo Station now. They just finished building that. Oh, this is open now, this park. This was closed the last time I was here. I'll have to come here with my daughter so she can try out the slide, though she's a little bit big for that now. And then they have the new hills one over by Shibuya Park. And of course they built a midtown, midtown in Shibuya, another midtown in Niseko in Hokkaido, and yet another one in Honolulu in Hawaii. That building up there with the two rings on the top is a temple. All right. This residence tower on the right. In the B1 floor, there's a wonderful Italian restaurant which looks out over the park behind the Azabu Tower. It's really, really good. It's not really, really expensive. This food in Japan compared to other places is not expensive. Like I went there to have dinner for my birthday, my family and I, and then my friend, his wife, and their daughter, so 6 of us. And we ate there, and the total price for the dinner was somewhere around Goman yen, or around $300 at the current exchange rate. Last summer for my birthday we went to Harry Cipriani in New York City, and the same group of people, same parents, same kids, and dinner there was $1,100 plus tip. No tips here. So I can't say that Cipriani's was any better than the restaurant here. I think Cipriani's is a more interesting atmosphere, more interesting people. But this restaurant was better decorated and obviously much newer on the inside. Cipriani's been around for a long time. And tourists. Oh, nice poodle. My dog, I have a Jack Russell Terrier. He likes poodles and big dogs. He doesn't like little dogs so much. As a Jack Russell, he thinks he's bigger than he is. Hideous, ugly, dark building up ahead, the Noah building. It's where my dentist used to be. Years ago I went in for an appointment and I was sitting down to this kind of interesting looking foreign character. He was wearing tinted sunglasses. And he had a funny accent. And after a little while I realized I knew him. And oh, there's Tokyo Tower. Still early, so we don't have so many tourists here yet. But yeah, the guy turned out to be Carlos Ghosn, who at that time was chairman of the Nissan company. And interesting that we went to the same dentist. And it was 2 years after that that the big story broke about him hiding his salary, which everyone in Japan does, and a few other things. And what most people think is that it was just a coup in the company to prevent Nissan from becoming a foreign company. There's the Russian embassy. You can always tell the old socialist countries' embassies because they have much bigger walls and security, and basically the idea for these walls and security is not what you think it is. To keep people out. The idea behind these is actually to keep people in. It's like reading that Lord of the Rings book where Sam has crossed over the pass and there's the big fortress on his left side, and it was designed not to keep people from going into Mordor, but to keep people from coming out. And there was an issue with some of these places back in the day that some diplomats escaped from the Soviet and East German embassies to seek asylum at the American embassy, which is over to my right, not so far away. Can I make this light green? Yeah. Ikura Katamacho, the Ferrari dealer on the left. On the right there used to be a Audi dealer, but now it's a hotel. Kind of behind where I live is the Lamborghini Cafe, and you can go in and enjoy drinks and pastries and look at whatever car they have parked inside the cafe that particular week. Mitsui Garden Hotel on the right. One of the better and more reasonable places to stay if you're visiting Japan, Tokyo. It's not expensive, but it's much better than the inexpensive hotels around Tokyo. Donkey. Cheap place, that's what the sign says. Hirokiya, that means hero's room or hero's house, seafood place. I've never been there. To my right across the way was Suru Tontan and Sushi Zanmai. Suru Tontan moved closer to where I live, which is convenient. I do like that place. It's very good and has a good atmosphere in it and good views. It's located on the top floor. And compared to other ones, like the one in Midtown in New York, it's quite cheap. The bowl of ramen, or udon I should say, it's not ramen. Surutontan here in Roppongi is 1,280 yen, which works out to about $8. If you go to the one in Midtown in New York, the identical bowl of ramen is $38, which is more than 5,000 yen, almost 5 times the price. And beer there costs more than twice as much, maybe 3 times as much. So a lot of things are expensive here in Tokyo. The housing is not cheap nowadays, especially the better housing, but the food is inexpensive. It's a funny building with white on the front, or gray. They just finished that. And they finished it maybe 6 or 7 months ago. At the moment, only about 2 floors of that building are occupied. The other 20 odd floors are still vacant. And next to the Grand Hyatt Hotel, we rode by that near the beginning of the ride. We're building another one. So they're not going to have much luck filling those places, but on the positive side, that should start to bring the price down. And this new policy with the visas has scared away a lot of recent Chinese people who've come to live here. Some, I don't know, 15 to 25,000 have already left. Now, when we moved in here, our timing was good. It was kind of in the tail end of the financial crisis, when housing was just about as cheap as it could possibly get here in Tokyo. No one was buying anything. And that was 15 years ago, and the place is now worth a lot more than it was at that time. All right. The food delivery is pretty big here, obviously. This guy in front of me, him and 2 others, they actually live down in Ayama. And they're from Turkey. And even Turkish food delivery drivers can find a place they can afford to live in Ayama. These guys are pretty nervous right now because Japan has a bone they want to pick with Turkish people. There's a lot of them here, but only men. There are like no Turkish women in Japan. It's mostly people who come here to work, and they've kind of created small communities in parts of Japan, and these have been causing trouble. At least that's what the locals say. I think anyone should come here, or should come here if they can, or if they can come here, they should, so long as they support themselves and try to live peacefully and quietly the way the Japanese people do. But not everyone who comes here does, and it causes issues with the locals, and makes life harder for us non-Japanese who do try to fit in and obey the rules. Sumimasen. Alright. People here are polite. and quiet. And if you're going to be here, you should try to be quiet and polite as well. Looks like they're having Oktoberfest over at Ayama Park. My best friend is German, and loves the Japanese Oktoberfest, especially the ones which happen in October. They don't always happen in October here. Japan, always looking for an excuse to eat junk food and drink beer. We'll often have Oktoberfest in May, April, or June. But the last time I went there with my friends was back 2018. That was just before not long before the pandemic hit. Go through the cemetery. And that was like, Oktoberfest was a few days before Trump came to visit Japan for the first time. He was here just last week. And while we were at the Oktoberfest, the helicopters were coming in to drop off people and equipment, and he arrived the next day. I guess they scheduled it to be afterwards this year, even though it's November. In Japan, the month isn't as important. So Oktoberfest here is sponsored by, I guess, the German Tourism Association, as well as food places and a couple of local German restaurants. And occasionally a German car maker sponsors the event. I may go later. I won't go early because it'll be too busy. These international festivals in Japan are always busy. They hold the bigger ones down by Yoyogi Park in the NHK complex. And the music is good, the food is good, but the crowds are insane. I don't even want to go there anymore because it's just too ridiculous. The lines are forever long. There's nowhere to sit. And if you live in Tokyo and you're complaining about crowds, it must really be crowded. Ayama Fire Department. Yeah, there was a fire in my neighborhood about 10 days ago. It was just the usual thing, like a grease trap in one of the zillion restaurants in Tokyo caught on fire. But Tokyo has a bad history with fire. So whenever there's a fire, no matter how small, they send out every engine in the vicinity. And there were more than 30 fire trucks in our neighborhood surrounding the entire place. It's pretty wild. And that's just to make sure that a small fire doesn't become a giant fire, and a giant fire doesn't become a firestorm. Tokyo has a history of some severe firestorms in the past. When the city was first built back in the early 17th century, they finished the keep in the city that was around, I don't know, 1630, 1640-ish. And as soon as that the keep was finished, fire started. It's called the long sleeves fire because it was a kimono or something which caught on fire while someone was cooking or something like that. And the entire city went up. The brand new castle was burned down, most of the city was destroyed, and thousands of people died. And there were other ones after that. It used to be that in Tokyo, most buildings had a life expectancy of less than 20 years before they would be burned down. And one of the reasons there was so much progress in this city is that it was always being burned down and rebuilt. So for that reason, they're especially careful with fire here. Now, when I was a kid, I lived in Los Angeles. I was surprised at the fires they had, which burned all that land down earlier this year. Of course, they didn't have enough fire trucks, and they certainly didn't have enough water. Here, that's never an issue. They're always prepared here. Even though firefighters here make about a third what they're paid in Los Angeles. Maybe that's why there's so many, because they can afford to hire more. All right, on the bike lane that everyone parks on. It's still early, it's not so busy here yet. It'll get busy. K truck up there. Probably a Amazon guy. Italia. Jewish man. Kind of far from Italia. Alright, this is coming up to Omotesando. Harley Davidson. I don't want to go down Omotesando Street. Over there is the King's Hawaiian bread. When I was a kid, my mom loved King's Hawaiian bread. My wife loves it, but I didn't. I thought it was too sweet. You can imagine a kid who spent every cent he could on Reese's peanut butter cups and Hershey bars, complaining about King's Hawaiian bread being too sweet. That's me. That was me. I appreciate it a little bit more now. I guess it's more of an adult thing than a kid thing. When I was a kid, I liked Wonder Bread, and that was it. That corner there is vacant property. They've got a project which they're going to, which will eventually cover many of the buildings in that section, and so they acquired the land piece by piece over a process of decades, and eventually they build something massive and sometimes ugly on the land. But they don't just leave the land empty and not do anything on it, because here in Tokyo and in Japan in general, vacant land is taxed at a higher rate than occupied land. And so vacant lots in Japan will usually have a parking lot put on top of them, a pay parking lot, which is a kind of business here, and also they'll have things like that, Vince pop-up stores. Speaking of pop-up stores, there's a new pop-up mart. I want to go by and see if it's open yet. My daughter's totally curious. She loves the stuff at Pop Mart. Oh, Sounds like that kid fell down. I didn't see him fall down, but I heard Mom and Grandma go, ah. Okay. Here on the left is one of the wedding venues they have here in Tokyo and around Japan. Everyone gets married here, but not everyone has kids. That's the big project for the new Prime Minister, is to try to solve Japan's demographic problem. The demographic problem is pretty simple. It's not really a problem. The issue is Japan is a small place, relatively speaking, with lots of people living here. Currently, there are almost 130 million people. Imagine a country the size of California with 3 times as many people and twice as many cars, and that's Japan. The population isn't falling so much for any economic or social reason other than the fact that there are too many people and not enough land to support them. Now, there are some changes here they could make to make it more reasonable to have children. Japan's business culture is kind of weird. It's very traditional and old school. Stuff has to be done face to face here. Negotiations and things like that are always done face to face, and documents and things here require what's called a hanko, or a personal seal or business seal. So if you open a bank account here, you need that. If you're renting a property or buying a property, you normally have to apply these seals, plus the seal of the property agent and a witness, and sometimes the seals of the owners as well. So, and all these people have to be at the same place. And one of the results of this face-to-face kind of system is that businesses gravitate to centers like Tokyo and Osaka and Sendai and places like that, where they're close together and can work together. And what that means is that when these places come, of course, they're the places where all the jobs are. They're the big employers. And so people leave the countryside to come to the cities to live and work. And there are so many people in the cities. So Japan has nearly 130 million people, and nearly 40 million live here in the greater metro area around Tokyo. It's kind of ridiculous. And the metro area around here in Tokyo, there's obviously not a lot of space here. Housing is small. Food and other things are more expensive, and therefore raising kids is more expensive. Out in the countryside, it's the opposite. Everything is inexpensive. There's plenty of room. Housing is cheap. Food is cheap. But wages are really low because there aren't any employers, because they're all in the cities. So if they could get rid of some of this traditional system for doing business in Japan and do what they've been doing in the rest of the West for the last 3 decades, that's, to be able to sign agreements digitally, do business online and make deals and things like that. People would be more flexible in their living arrangements. Luckily, I work from home and can live anywhere. It's not as easy as saying that. Like, working from home isn't as simple as saying I'm going to work from home and let's do something and make money. It takes a long time to have an idea, to work it out, to put it into practice and actually make it work. I started doing that when I first arrived in Japan back in 2007. And it took about almost 10 years before I could make enough working at home where I didn't have to work for someone else. Oh, it's gone. Pop Mart's gone. My daughter will be disappointed. It was here. I guess they still have the other Pop Mart in Harajuku. Rafa, cycling where I like the store. So I hope that that's one of the things that gets worked out. Like during the pandemic, business travel was difficult in Japan, not because people weren't allowed to travel for business. There were no restrictions in Japan during the pandemic. Unlike other countries, there were no lockdowns here. You could work if you wanted or not work if you wanted. You could keep your store or shop or whatever it was open if you wanted to, or close it if you wanted to. If you closed it, you could get a small subsidy. But Japan's government already has debt issues, so they're very frugal with what they handed out. So for many people, just it was like business as usual during the pandemic. Much quieter than usual, but still. But yeah, oh, Voyage to the Luminous, Voyage of the Lights, interesting. Christmas stuff. Which way will I go, George? Which way will I go? I'll go around the back of Yashita Park. Past the luxury goods stores. Balenciaga and Prada and Kith, whatever that is. If it's here, it must be expensive. All right. Not as busy here as it often is. It'll get busier as we get closer to Shibuya. Technically, we're in Shibuya, where all the tourists are. Nitori. It's kind of the Japan's version of IKEA. Japan is pronounced Ikea. Tower Records. CDs are still popular in Japan. I don't know why. I think it's because of the gadget quality of CD players. They're more tactile and more machine-like than smartphones. They're building a new tower over the top of Shibuya Station. Save, that's where my wife likes to buy stockings, socks. All right. I can squeeze through here without running over anyone. Success. Shouldn't speak too soon. Come on, old people, hurry up, hurry up. But it's bound to be massive. Behind me to the right, the part of the station where Hachiko is. Halloween was on Friday, as I mentioned much earlier in this video, and they more or less closed Shibuya down to limit the crowds here. What the police said is they didn't want a big stampede like the one that hit Korea a couple of years ago. And there isn't much possibility of that happening here. What they were really trying to avoid is the trouble which has been happening here on Halloweens every year, which is people drinking too much. Japanese people, for the most part, are very peaceful, quiet, and tame. But put some alcohol in them, and you can wake up something pretty terrible. And if that isn't bad enough, there's so many foreigners are coming here now, and specifically for Halloween, which makes the issue worse. Because however bad Japanese people are when they drink, foreigners can be at least as bad and often worse. The Halloween story is kind of interesting here in Japan. I know how it started. Here in Tokyo, I should say. It hasn't taken off in other parts of Japan yet. And of course, Halloween is a foreign tradition, and it was brought here by foreigners. And I remember when it happened. So when I first came to Japan, there used to be an informal Halloween party on the Yamanote train, which is the train which runs a circular route through Tokyo. It just runs in a circle and never stops. And some of the foreign people who were living in Japan back in those days, not the like diplomats or expats or stuff like that, kind of the ordinary working class foreigners like teachers and people here for a year or two or three, and they would dress up in costumes and get on the Yamanote line train and drink. They wouldn't get stupid drunk. They would just, drink, I guess, to keep their mouths lubricated while they chatted. And when the evening got to the end, they would get off the train, and most of them got off in Shibuya, because Shibuya is one of the big hubs here in Tokyo, and you can get trains to take you to other parts of the city, subways and buses. And so after their party on the train, they would drink and chat and whatnot in local izakayas and places like that. And Japanese people saw, wow, that looks like fun. And pretty soon they began doing it too. It's happened a lot of times in Japan over the years, ever since the first foreigners came here. And it's getting a little popular in other places, but nothing like Shibuya. Shibuya has become so popular, it's become a problem. Not doing too badly for a person who's only been on the bike 3 times since breaking half his body less than 2 months ago. Let's go take a closer look at the King's Hawaiian Bread pop-up store. I love Hawaii. I'm actually a resident of Hawaii. That's where I have my American residency. for sake of maintaining a footprint in America and for like banking purposes for myself. And one day my daughter will go to college, probably in America. And that being the case, I have to have a residence in America. Aloha, aloha. It's said that in Honolulu, not Honolulu, I say Oahu, that more than 40% of the people who live on Oahu have Japanese ancestry, at least a little bit. And I totally believe that. But sometimes I think that it's not enough Japanese ancestry, because it would be really wonderful if Oahu resembled Japan in other ways, like the way it manages crime and drugs and homelessness and stuff like that. It's like Honolulu has become overrun with drug addicts and homeless. So a couple of years ago, maybe 3 years ago now, time flies, we went to spend 10 days in Honolulu. My father-in-law has a beautiful home there, and we stay in his home because he's very seldom there. He only goes a few times per year. And I managed to catch COVID. And at the time, you still needed a COVID test to return to Japan. And so I was stuck there. My wife and daughter returned home. My wife had to return to work. My daughter had to return to school. And I was stuck in Hawaii for another 16 days. Which was all right. I was able to get a new driver's license and do some sightseeing on a bicycle. And I had to arrange my return flight. And so I took my documents to the Japan Airlines counter at the airport, and I rode along this sidewalk or cycling course, whatever it is, along the Nimitz Highway there to the airport. And as I was riding along, there's like a crawl space under the highway, which is about 4 or 5 feet high, and there was literally a city of homeless people living underneath the highway there. I mean, they had solar panels connected to wires running to underneath there to charge radios or other devices or whatever it was, whatever they were. And of course it smelled bad because there are no toilets in the area. Imagine a few hundred people living under a bridge with no toilets about. It's not going to smell good. And that's just one of many places around Honolulu where it's gotten so bad. Now, Japan has nearly 130 million people, but has around the same or fewer homeless people than the island of Oahu, or the city of Honolulu for that matter. Oahu is very Japanese, but it's not Japanese enough to address this issue. All right, getting closer to home. This is the hill which I ride down when I bed brakes in a new bike, or when I replace the brake pads. Speaking of brakes, mine are getting noisy. Kaotan Ramen. It looks really ugly and run down and dirty, but it's one of the best ramen restaurants in Tokyo. Thankfully, foreigners don't know about it yet. They tend to go to the Yuruka ramen up by Midtown. This place is better and cheaper, and you don't have to wait in a long line to get in. On the left is Hardy Barracks. This is where Trump's helicopter landed, I think it was last Monday. Oh, I'm going to turn around and check out the Oktoberfest. Let's see what's going on. I hear drums playing. It may not be Oktoberfest since it's November, but as I said before, in Japan you can have Oktoberfest whenever you like. Nothing here says it has to be in October. This is the bus I've been taking to take my daughter to play soccer. I haven't been driving since my accident. All right. My wife is afraid for me to drive. I think if I can ride a bicycle, I think I can drive a car. What is this? It is Oktoberfest. Wow, my guess was correct. All right, we'll have to come down here later. I can smell sausage cooking. Where there's sausage, there will be beer. Where there's beer, there will be me. And this park has an ice vending machine for ice cream. I really love the ice cream. Ah, line already. It'll have to be much later when I come. All right. Talk about a line. And where there's beer, there will be toilets. All right. Definitely later on, after maybe come back around 3 or so. I don't think I can get away with riding on the sidewalk anymore because the line is going to grow by another 100 people here shortly. But from my building, I can look down on the park and see the Oktoberfest. All right. Sounds like they have live music. I have to take some video for my German friend who is in Germany now. During the pandemic, he and his family wisely decided to stay in Japan instead of go home. And the restrictions in Germany were kind of severe during that time, so those non-Japanese who were in Japan preferred to stay here. There's ugly buildings in front of me are with the policemen out front. These used to be old military barracks, and now they are housing for politicians from distant parts of Japan who have to come here to Tokyo to work. Accommodations aren't luxurious. Unlike what American politicians enjoy. But in Japan, they would say that these politicians don't deserve any better, and they probably get too much as it is. All right, straight ahead is Roppongi Hills. It's the Mori Tower, that funny shaped glass building in the front. It's where Goldman Sachs was, and Live Door, and a lot of other big companies. That building is considered unlucky because of the collapse of Live's door and the arrest of its owner and a few other stories. This Roppongi tunnel, goes underneath the heliport at Hardy Barracks. There's graffiti on the right, which has been here for a dozen years, which they haven't cleaned up yet. I don't know why. Looks ugly. The rest of the part here, they keep clean. Graffiti artists come from time to time, but it's always cleaned up quickly. All right. Parking on the left here. Parking is hard to come by, so if you buy a car in Japan, you can't buy one unless you prove you have a parking spot and your proof is verified by the local police. So even outdoor parking like that, where your car gets dirty, is in demand. There's a guy across the way who has a new Rolls-Royce convertible. It sits out in the baking sun every day simply because he can't get a better place to park it. It's not that he can't afford it, but it can't be had. Our place came with parking. We were lucky. It cost extra, but it doesn't cost as much as what a lot of these people are paying. All right, up there is the Tri-7 building right next to where I live, and that's where, was it, Templeton is there, and a couple of other companies. A lot of foreigners work there. Barney's New York is in there. I could tell people I live next to Barney's New York. If I lived in New York and lived next to Barney's New York, that would be saying something, but being in Tokyo and living next to Barney's is not that bad. All right, anyway, the end of the road. Okay, so I have motorcycle parking here. I'd like a motorcycle, but getting a motorcycle license in Japan is tough. Getting a car license was hard enough. Alrighty. Bicycle parking garage. This is where obviously people park their bicycles, and this section in the back upper level, this is mine. All these bikes are mine. The ones on the top level are my gravel bike, my road bike, my folding bike, and what I'm putting away now is my mountain bike. Anyway, that's going to be it for today's video, and now that I'm better and I can get out and ride more, I'll try to make more videos and upload them. So if you'd like to see these, please subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them below. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you tune in again soon. Alrighty then.